Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from all those around the world. My name is Justin. I am over at Simple Events, and I am so ecstatic that you're here today. We're going to talk everything Simple Events, how to use it, what it is, and how you can actually set up an event. Two different style events actually today. We're going to set up a quick virtual event, just like the one you're in right now. And then we're also going to set up an in-person event as well. Boom. This is Simple Events at its core. Very straightforward. Awesome. It is an event dashboard. It's showing you all your events. And one of the cool things that you can do is you can add filters. And these filters will save on your browser. So if you log out, log back in, they don't share across your account. It is basically per browser. All right. So you can see here, I've got some events that are completed. I can filter by start date, end date, the type of event. So if I wanted to look at conferences only, you can see I can easily just type in. If I look at specifically event status, so those are the event statuses: canceled, completed, needs completion, trashed, and active. So if I only look at my active campaigns or my active events, okay, you can see here's all my active ones that I need to go back and mark as complete. Now, you're probably thinking, what is this status needs completion? So needs completion is when the end date of that event has already passed. So these are all in the past, and you need to mark that event as completed. Now, to do that, it's very simple. All you have to do is go back into the event. When it loads, oh, that event might be deleted. Yep, that one is deleted. If I go back to my filters, oh, and it logged me into another, logged me into another portal. How awesome is that? Give me 1 second here. And log back in. Boom, back into my event. Here we go. This will work a lot better now. So if I look at the event status here, and you can say needs completion, let's go back to this example. We'll find our inbound 2024, and you can see, hey, these are the people who registered for that inbound 2024 example. When you need to complete the event, it's as simple as marking the event as complete. Now, what that does is it marks all the no-shows. It marks the event as closed, so no more registrations can flow in and flow out. What I typically recommend, and what we recommend from a platform standpoint, is that you mark them completed like an hour after. That way you can do your no-show follow-ups, which is the next day, or if you wanted to trigger them that afternoon as well. But when you mark it as complete, you can see here, there's nothing else I can do. I could still clone it. I can still see all my assets associated with it, but you can't use the QR check-in or anything like that. Let's dive into, so you can see my filters stay, as I said. Let's dive in creating your first virtual event. Now, your virtual events can happen in any platform. Simple Events does not actually handle video or the audio, anything like that. We sit in front of your choice event platform. So if you want to use GoToMeeting, if you want to use WebEx, if you want to use Zoom, if you want to use Google Meet, whatever is your fancy, we sit in front of it. And just like y'all did with this email or the calendar invite, you get the link and you can click it. And then Simple Events will automatically check them in if they click in from the email link. Now, if they click in from the calendar, that's something that we're going to work on, is how we can brand the calendar links. So then no one sees the actual Zoom or meeting link. But let's set up our first virtual event. So we're going to call this product webinar. All right. And I have a naming convention, but you can do whatever you want. And we could say, we're going to talk about mics. Okay. Because Justin's staring at a mic right below him. The key thing here is when you're doing a virtual event is the event type is virtual. I know that sounds hard, sounds confusing, but at that point, you really need to know, hey, it's virtual. With that, it changes our event location saying, hey, drop in your event URL. I'm just going to make up one real fast, Zoom/1. There we go. That actually looked good. All right, let's give it an event description. This event will talk all about mics and which best for you. All right, I'm going to set the event date. All right, so we're going to use 11/10/2024, and we're going to do one in, let's say, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Now, I use the keyboard, and that is perfectly fine. You can also just click the icon, click into the field, and set your own date and time. Now, Simple events, whenever you put in the first date and time, will advance the second field by 1 hour. What we saw is most people ran an hour, but let's have some fun here and let's change this to 45 minutes. So you can see I easily change it. Now, if your organization spans multiple time zones, and let's say you are located in one time zone, but the event's gonna happen in another, make sure you're aware that the time you're entering in is in your local time zone, okay? So if the event's happening in, say, the East Coast, the Eastern time zone, I would need to say, okay, if it's 3 o'clock Eastern, that's actually going to be 2 o'clock Central time. So adjust that. HubSpot and Simple Events handles all the conversions there, but you just need to know that when you're creating those events. All right. Then with the event URL that we're talking about here. So I got my event location. I apologize. We got our event location here, and then we have our registration URL. Now, that registration URL, that is for landing pages. So down the road, if you ever have a calendar, a landing page, which we have a HubSpot CMS module coming out, I'm going to go ahead and queue that up and show you what we have coming to give you a little example. Let's see here. I'll queue that up over here. But that's where you would say, okay, how can they register for this event? Now, if you don't know that right now, that's fine. You can leave it blank. That's the beauty of Simple Events, is you can come back and edit it. All right. What I'm going to do is talk about these awesome pro features. Now, our pro plan is a month-to-month. There's no contracts. There's no big requirements. It's literally just $50 a month, and you get this crazy awesome automation to help you literally launch your event within 5 minutes. So when we look at the pro options, every account, even the free ones, can create a HubSpot form. All right, that is your registration form or your intake form for your event. We also, with our pro accounts, can create a list, and this list creates this function creates 3 different lists. It is a registered list, it is a attended list, and it is a no-shows list. Now, the no-shows do not generate while the event's running. It is only until you hit complete event will it move those audience people into the registered people into the no-shows. The create workflows, same style. It creates a registered workflow, an attendee workflow, and a no-shows workflow as well. All right. Create emails. This was recently launched last quarter. It is really awesome. I love it. This is probably one of my favorite features that we released. It creates 2 emails, a confirmation email and a reminder email. Now, looking down here at the event features, those are, hey, I need to limit this. Now, if it's a virtual event, you might have a cap on your event system. I know Zoom, the cheapest plan starts at 500, but in other areas, it might be limited to 50 or something like that. So you could limit to say 50, those kind of things, whatever works for you or whatever needs you have. Another awesome pro feature is our enable guest. So how many guests could Justin bring? I'll talk more about this in the in-person event because this doesn't make any sense for a virtual event. So let's zoom back out and let's click our awesome create button. Now, in the background, this is where the magic's happening. This is where the fun is happening. It is going to be awesome. And you're like, awesome, I'm in my event. Product webinar mics. This means nothing. It's boring. Yes, because this is where the fun comes out of Simple Events. When we click on our details asset screen, you will see all the assets that you had turned off or turned on. If you turned off any assets, guess what? You're not going to see those assets. They're going to be blank and grayed out. But let's open up our list. We're going to open up 2 workflows, and I'm going to open up both confirmation emails as well. And actually, is this so that's form, that's list. These are the 2. We're going to move these to the end of the tabs, and I'll show you. All right, so let's switch over to the registration form. And guess what? We're in our awesome, amazing tool that we all love, Simple Events. We're in HubSpot now. That's the whole goal, is that we want to be back in HubSpot in the tool that we love and use to run your full event. So at this point, I don't have to map any fields to anything that I have. So I want to say who, I'm just going to type in who, I don't even know. Ooh, what's that phone number? Let's just drop that in. You can easily see here, there's no integration steps. There's no mapping form fields. This is using your HubSpot properties. And that's why we love and built it this way. We want to use the tool that we all use every day anyway. So let's maximize that tool. So I can add in any of them. I can even add in other properties going down. Look at all my 48 properties. I could say, okay, let's drive last dent. No, let's just add in persona because that's a drop down, right? We want to know what persona you are. And this field has none right now, but you get the idea. I can change this form. Now, the one thing with simple events is we ask that you don't change this name. Reason being, that's how we know that name and that registration happened. So we look specifically against HubSpot. It automates the registration steps. If you change it, you will need to use a HubSpot workflow. All right. When you change it, it just requires more steps. We have that in our knowledge base, but keep your life simple. Hence why we called it simple events. Don't change the name. It just flows a lot easier for you so you can run your event a lot faster. So what I'm going to do is say update because I dropped some field names, and I'm going to copy. And what we'll do here is I'm going to fill this form out. Now this form you could drop in anywhere. If it was on a WordPress website, if it was on a HubSpot landing page, a HubSpot web page, whatever, you can put the form wherever. Or if you want to use this form URL, like the share URL that we're on, you could even put the logo of your company or the event, the headings, and all the descriptions if you want to. You have that creativity to do it however you need to. So I'm going to go ahead and say register. And you can see here, simple events automatically set up a thank you message without me even modifying it. Thanks for registering for the product webinar mics. All right, so that one's there. We're going to leave that be, and we're going to come back to that later. At this point, because I opened up my registration list before I filled out that form, what you will see here is I have a static list called registered. And if I take this name and go back and look at all my awesome lists, what you will see here is 3 different lists. They're all statics because that's how we work with HubSpot. Registered, attended, and no-shows, as I talked about earlier. But these will be managed and controlled by simple events. So as users come in and go out, if they cancel a registration, any of that information, you can see that flow this way. Now, going over to our awesome email feature. This is where you get to use HubSpot in the email delivery or even the customization and the fun creativity of HubSpot emails. As you can see, I'm not limited to anything. We're going to upload Marketing Mandy. This is our Marketing Mandy image from AI. It's not the best. It's always overwhelming to me, but you can modify this. As you can see, I'm going in, you know what? I want to highlight, and come on mouse. There we go. Highlight this. I'm going to enter down. If you wanted to, do whatever you need to. Now, for all of our accounts, free or pro or enterprise, we have an add to calendar module. And that add to calendar module, I'm going to put this guy down here, enables me to say product. I can select for my marketing events, and boom, all the icons are there added. And you're like, hey, I really don't need to say the display the event again. I just want to say add to your calendar again. Awesome. You can see how I'm building this email in HubSpot, not in some other tool that limits you, controls anything. I now get to see. We've got our button here, so go to your stylings, change your branding colors if you need to. But this is a very special URL. You all click this URL in the emails that you got when we said, hey, the webinar is about to start. This one automatically checks you in for pro users. Now, for those that aren't pro, you'll have to open up the dashboard and check those people in manually. This link will still work if you're a pro or non-pro user, but it won't check them in. So again, just wanted to make sure that's clear so that you can use these buttons even if you're on the free account, but it won't automatically check the user in. With that, we're going to go to settings, and I can set the from names to whatever I need to. If you get the brand account, Simple Events just doesn't know what you use, so there's no way for us to know. So we just set it as owners. So again, make sure you go through a QA step or quality assurance step to actually launch the emails. So with that, I could easily change my subject line, and we just drop in the name of the event. You can see here, name of the event as well. This email contains important information about the event itself. Now, coming down the road is we will have marketing campaigns. We are still building that feature out completely, but it is really close, and we're also waiting on HubSpot. So at the time, if you're watching this video on a replay, it might already be out. So just be aware of that the campaign option might be there. But standing, this is an automatic email already, and all we're going to do is say review and publish. Now, I don't have defaults in this account. That would be really good to set up, Justin, but that's okay. You get the idea. Now, let's go over to our reminder email. So what we said is because we don't really know from a standpoint of when you're going to send these emails, we just say it's happening soon. So if you wanted to expand on the webinars, on the reminder emails for this event, you could always clone these into additional, hey, it's happening in 2 days, 5 days, 6 days, whatever you want to do. I recommend you clone instead of rebuilding from scratch, specifically so you don't have to worry about this jumbled mess, okay, of links. So with that, I can come back in, I can add in my links there, I can add an image, I can add in anything. I wouldn't recommend adding social on an email like this because we don't want them clicking into another platform. We want them going directly to the email or to the event itself. So again, you get the idea. I can now QA and launch these emails really fast. So Justin has been talking for about 10 minutes straight. Typically when I build these without talking, it takes me less than 5 minutes to QA to launch everything from the beginning, from start to finish, from clicking that button. And this is why, because this workflow, it's all for registered people. So when they fill out the form and they move into our registered list, okay? So again, workflows come with our Flow plan and you need Marketing Hub Pro. If you don't have Marketing Hub Pro or Enterprise, that's okay. You can just turn off the webinar feature or the workflow feature and you can still access the list management and those other items as well. But you can see here, we built this entire workflow for you. You got your confirmation email there. And now this is the branching that we set up. Is 3 days before. We ran so many events and so many configurations. We saw that this was the best configuration. Now you can change it to whatever your industry and what your business really thrives on. But 3 days before, send them a reminder. 1 day before, send them a reminder. And then the day of the event, send them a reminder. Okay. So you can see here, it all varies, but this is the beauty of it. You're in HubSpot and you got the workflow. So if you want to trigger a WhatsApp and you got it connected, do it. You've got some SMS platform, do it. That's the beauty of it. If you want to send a SMS campaign in HubSpot, you could use those lists. This is the beauty of Simple Events, is that we want all your data, all your information flowing back in HubSpot, and you're just using Simple Events for the little simple, I'm going to automate my life and do my event management. So that's the registered workflow. Let me flip over to the attended workflow. So the attended workflow is those who attend the event. Shocking. With that, we're going to say delay 1 day after the event. My event was set on 11/10. So we set it up as the follow-up after the day. Now, if you have a morning event and you want to follow up that afternoon, again, you can change all these. They don't affect Simple Events in any way. So with that, we go down to stubbed out 1 day later, 3 days later, and 5 days later, or 7 days later, technically. But the idea there is that you can put in follow-up actions. If it's, hey, I need you to schedule a call. Hey, you need to go buy this purchase. Don't forget about your discount. All those good items, okay? That's our fun list. And I'm going to reload this. And what you'll see is, hey, there's one person in our registered list. And what you'll see is Justin. And if I go back to Simple Events, boom, Justin is there. Now, at this point, you're like, all right, cool. I'm going to start seeing all my attendees flow in. So I'm going to open up Justin here and let you see what this guy does. You can see here, right here in the middle pane, marketing event registration. He was actually registered for that event hosted by Simple Events. And if we scroll down here on the right-hand side, we're going to look at this right-hand pane. And what you'll see is a contact card called simpleevents.io. How many event registrations has he done with? So he's registered for 7. He's attended 5 of them. This guy, he's just not always showing up. What is he doing? But you can get a quick, simple idea, of how this user is registering and attending or canceling at events. All right. With that, it is easy and simple to see what's going on. Now, I've got all my other automations things turned off, but you can see here from a list management standpoint as well that he was registered into the event name and the registered name. That's it. So let's fast forward and open up one of our assets real quick because I want to show you something that we do for the events. Now, sometimes you're going to be like, hey, someone's going to try to get into my event early, especially when it's a virtual event. What we did, so I'm going to pull up a contact card and I'm going to say, Justin, here. If they click this link, and I'm going to pop it out, it's going to say, hey, this event doesn't start for 30 days. We did the top 5. Yeah, the top 6 link, or top 5. Yeah, Justin can't add this morning. The top 5 languages around the world. But right now, as we expand this option, we might give you an account setting and say, hey, what's your default language? Or what's the default message you want to say? That way you can have it in your language and it's not just showing all these characters out there. But this is to keep the person. Now, somebody can actually sit on this page, hopefully not for 30 days, and the link will automatically refresh and move them into the event URL, okay? This is a cool little feature we have, so then they don't have to. So if I get there 30 minutes before, because I'm an eager person to get into this webinar, I can leave this screen up and it will check and then refresh, all right? So that's how the virtual event. Now, just because I clicked that link, you can see here, Justin was not checked in. But if it's within that 15-minute period, it would have already checked Justin in. So how do we check Justin in manually? So let's say we're fast forwarding to November 11th, which is funny because I didn't realize I did the backwards of our today's webinar. This is pretty good because today is October 11th and our event is on November 10th. Look at that, dyslexia kicked in really great there. With that, we're going to check Justin in. And what happens when you check Justin in? It goes back to HubSpot and enriches that information even more. We have a checked in time. So when I open up here, what you will see is, boom, Justin was added to the attendees list and the marketing attendance as well. So if I go back to that list, you will now see Justin is in that list. And just remember that static list and HubSpot sometimes delay this account, so you can always look right there as well. So at that point, my event is done and we are flying just right on time. So that's how you would run an event. At this point, I would say, let's mark this as complete and we're done. Any no-shows would be locked any no-shows, yes, would be set as no-shows, and registration is now closed. All right. But you're like, hey, I run this event every quarter or every month. Come here and clone it. Now, the only thing that needs to be unique is the event name. The event name has to be unique for HubSpot, and then it makes it a lot easier for yourself. So if you said, product webinar, or you could say 2024 November as an example, and come back and say, we're going to do this again in December, and I'm just going to advance my time. We're going to use that and then update our URL. There we go. Boom. Then I can set up and trigger. This is how we actually internally built all these live webinar demos. We went through clone, created the first one, and then cloned all the rest of them. This is how I would recommend it. This is how I even did it. Okay. So that's how you can actually spin up events faster. And the beautiful thing of when you hit clone, it actually takes your previous events form, whatever layout, whatever field you have, and uses that going forward. So this is a quick way. If you have a lot of questions that you ask on your intake forms, it's a quick way to get your event even stood up faster. So let's flip gears, and I'm going to copy my title here and create our in-person event. And this is one of the cool things, one of the awesome features we have with in-person events is QR codes. So I'm going to walk through that whole example and talk to that, and then we should be done at around 9:45, 9:43, and we can have time for Q&A. So don't forget, if you do have questions as I'm going through, because Justin gets really excited, that you want to make sure that you get those questions in then. All right, so I'm going to move this Q&A box over. All right, so let's do our in-person product webinar, not in-person product demos, and we're going to go off for mics. All right, and I'm going to call this 2024 December. So I'm going to use that same naming convention. This is just some information to enrich your reporting that's coming out from Simple Events and with HubSpot. But you can see in person, offsite if you're doing it somewhere else. I'm going to do on-site in person, so we'll be demoing live. That's funny. Our newest mics that should going in the direction. All right. I don't know why I kept direction, but so I'm going to set my time as the same day, and we're going to do this in the morning. AM, again, I'm a keyboard person. I like to do the keyboard, and you can see here, this one didn't advance because I clicked too soon. So I'm just going to go down to my 10:10, and then we're going to set it for a 2-hour event just for the fun of it. All right. So let me go here, there, zoom. All right. Event location. So this is where you would actually put in the physical address. We want auto completion coming down the road for this, but right now, Justin's going to use his awesome 123 computer lane. And then registration URL. Again, this is going to be something that you can come back and edit later, or you can put it in now if you already know it. If you built out a landing page for the registration form, got it. All right. So in this example, I'm going to turn off the list. I'm going to turn off the workflows, and I'm just going to say create email because this is what I really want to show you in this. But the same process would happen with all the other ones. Okay. If you do turn off form, okay, what we say is make sure you use the workflow and simple events workflow action to push the contact into the event. I'm going to show you that example too, but you get the idea. The same setup is I would have my registration form, my list, and my workflows there. All right, so we're going to go ahead and say create an event. This is going to be even zippier. So if we open up our event details, you will see your registration confirmation and your emails, because those are the only things I set it to create. I'm going to open up one of them. Boom. Look at this. I love how good this looks. This is where you can say, hey, I don't really want it to say December, or you could drop in-person demos. Again, those are your internal names if you wanted to, but then you can edit and change the emails as needed. When we look at the QR codes, when you're in the HubSpot editor, we drop in an event text. If it's a long name like I did, you'll see it cut off. But this idea is to show you an example. So if I went to preview because no one has registered and I type in Justin, what you'll see is an error. There'll be a blank image. That's because that person has not registered for this event. On the flip side, when you click on it, you can't edit it. Don't replace it. Don't change it. We are the only people who have got native QR codes in HubSpot like this without using contact properties. Now, if you're on a free account, so this is a pro feature, but if you're on a free account, you can always use, so let me add in a text property here. And what we're going to do is then say personalize. We're going to click on contact and we're going to say QR. Last event QR code. Now, when you look at this, this is great, but if the user registers for multiple events with or without, if they register for multiple events and you're on the free simple events version, that last QR code as a contact property is replaced. So your confirmation and your reminders don't work. All right. That's why we built this for our pro users, because if you're running a lot of events and you want this QR code to be used, you could send any number of reminders that you need to. In this case, the user can only register for one event at a time. So just be aware of that. That is one of the big differences between the pro and the free. So I'm going to turn this one off and I'm going to save this email. So again, I can come back and add in any type of add to calendar. If I select my 2024 here, boom. One of the cool things that I did not mention the first time is if your event's not in simple events and you still want to use our add to calendar module, do it. Just turn off marketing events and create the event yourself. You can fill out all the details. If you're a pro user, the Apple icon and the ICS calendar icons automatically show in. You don't have to drop in an event location or an ICS file. That is a pro feature, just so you know. All right, so what I'm going to do is flip over to a workflow real quick and show you how to manually register somebody in. And what I'm going to do is copy, I need my naming convention. Justin likes his naming convention. So what we'll do, boom, copy this and then say create workflow from scratch. And we're going to contact based, of course, and we're going to set up an action called register contact for an event. And what you'll see here is all your available So any events that is marked as completed will not show up in this event listing, okay? So I'm gonna select this one and hit save. We're gonna give it a name, push, create, registration. That's what I'm gonna call it. Save. At this point, I'm gonna say review and turn on workflow. And what I'm going to do is manually enroll this person. Justin. Actually, we'll just do a couple. Let's see. Yep, there's Michelle. That's my wife. And then let's find Maria and Brian. They're going to come to this awesome event as well. All right. As this enrollment happens, you can see all the fun, beautiful actions in the enrollment history. Boom, boom. Let's click on Justin and see. Done. Already finished. That's awesome. So if we go back to, look at that, they're flowing in. Now, Michelle's still coming in. She's working through that process. Again, HubSpot delays, triggers it however it needs to. And there is Michelle. So now we have all of our people registered, and that's how you can use a HubSpot workflow. So when I go back and look at my confirmation email, we'll go and say preview. And if I type in Justin, what you will see is this QR code now changes. Okay. It doesn't have the text underneath it because it doesn't look good. Because if you put a really long text, it's not going to be there. But you can see I've got everything set up. We're looking good here. I like it. Let's go to town. Now, one thing I'm going to do, because I don't like the way this looks, is this to here, add in some styling, put in some padding below it, because they don't need this. This is the confirmation email. All right. So we got that. Add to calendar. Got your QR code. Awesome. Now, what we're going to do is the way we set up our QR codes is to protect and secure you. Okay. If everybody on this webinar around the world took out their phones and tried to scan this one's not going to do anything for sure. But if I was an end user, so let's just say, hey, I'm bored one day and I'm like, ooh, let me pull up my camera phone and scan it. It's just going to say gibberish. It's not going to do anything. It's not going to redirect anywhere. It's just gibberish. And that is because we want to protect your QR codes. Okay. Only you and your team should be able to scan these. So when I type in here, I'm going to type in an event password, and that's what this QR code system's for. So what's your check-in setup, and we will display where you can actually learn. Now, there is a knowledge base article on how you can use this, but it's very simple. If you haven't caught on to the theme yet, simple is our goal around here. I'm going to say, hey, boom, thanks for coming. Check out the event. Here's your details. So I'm going to pull this URL up, and I'm going to type it in on my phone as well. All right, let's see here. Check in. Very mobile friendly. If you look at my little video there, you can see it's pretty straightforward. All you do is type in the event ID as I have. So 2351 and then live. You all could be doing this as I speak. This would be funny if you all did this. With that, I'm going to say allow my camera usage. And then all it does is just pulls up a quick scanner. I'm going to flip over to this email, scroll down. And what happens is when you scan it with your QR code, it will say successfully checked Justin in. Now, with that, that's how simple it is. We display the name of who you just checked in. So then your check-in team can say, hey, Justin, thanks for coming in. This is where you need to go. This is where the tables are, or this is where the event's happening. Here's your badge, all that, okay? Now, some of you might ask, hey, do we do badge printing? That is in the works. And if this is a recording that you're watching later, it could be done. Just check the feature list, all right? But right now, we don't print on the demand like whenever someone checks in. So that is how you can use our QR code. And so if I go back to attendees, you can see here, Justin is checked in. Same process, all that information is enriched in HubSpot. And that is how you can use an in-person event, how you can use a virtual event, 2 different styles with simple events and so forth. If you run multiple day events, so let's say you do a 3-day seminar or a 3-day conference, miniature conference that you're running or a workshop, you can use multiple days, but the check-in feature right now only checks in on the first day. Okay, so typically what we tell our simple event users is you give them a badge and they're already checked in, but if someone comes the second day, you can still scan their QR codes. All right, so that's typically what we see on that. Now, I'm going to stop the screen share. Awesome. With that, I really hope you all have an awesome rest of your day. And I hope that you have a blessed weekend. This is Justin from Simple Events signing off. Have a glorious morning, afternoon, evening. Cheers.